Where this comes around to the wrongful convictions. It turns out that one of the persons I asked for money was a fellow by the name of, I can use his name because he was of Ralph Roberts. Ralph contributed $2,000 and later $2,000, so I got a total of $4,000 from Ralph. There was also an attorney that I raised some money. He helped me raise some additional money, which is a whole other part of the case, which I don't even want to get into because then this lecture goes on for 3 or 4 hours. It gets really complicated. But to make the point, what happened is that Ralph was a real estate person who employed Jeffrey Muldowan's sister as one of his real estate salespeople. Jeffrey Muldowan, our defendant here. Ralph, beginning in 1999 or 2000, long before I was running for Congress, inquired of me as to whether or not anything was happening on Jeffrey's case. And I would say, well, yeah, I'm waiting for the defense attorney to do this, that, or the other thing. But then I would say, look at Ralph, don't get your hopes up. I mean, I still remember some of the things I said. So look, if this guy's a thug, he hangs around with thugs. The sister probably believes in him, but relatives always believe in people. You know, just don't get your hopes up. Then he would say, well, would you meet with the defense attorney? I said, look, I meet with anybody, anytime. Of course I'll meet with the defense attorney. There's no problem. Well, Ralph, it turns out, is dyslexic. He doesn't read or write very well. And so what he does is he tapes all of his conversations. And so he's had conversations going back 10 years. An allegation was made by the Republican Party that one of the reasons, no, not one. An allegation was made by members of the Republican Party that the reason that I yielded finally to write the brief to the Supreme Court of the state of Michigan saying that Mr. Muldowan's case should be looked at is that Ralph Roberts gave me a $2,000 campaign contribution. A stinky, rotten allegation, but in today's political climate, somebody took it seriously. And I ended up getting indicted. I was a criminal defendant. I, who represented the United States of America. Hi, my name is Carl Marlinga, Assistant United States Attorney representing the United States. I found myself on the other end. It was United States of America versus Marlinga. Obviously, the worst kick in the stomach that any human being could possibly endure, especially somebody who was so proud of being a prosecutor, so proud of having formerly been an Assistant U.S. Attorney in a Justice Department, a Strike Force Attorney. I mean, I am absolutely sure that whenever it is, and I don't say this lightly, I mean, this is exactly, I know how criminal defendants feel. The day that I go in for whatever the diagnosis is, whether it's cancer or heart disease or leukemia or emphysema, when I find out that I've got my terminal illness, whatever the doctor tells me, will not be as bad as being indicted. It couldn't be. I mean, because you come into this world, you know eventually you're going to die. You come into this world, you don't ever think that you're going to be accused seriously of a crime. And I didn't commit any crime. But I had to go through the hell of basically proving my innocence. So he has the misfortune of being misidentified in a prior investigation, and so his name gets on the police list and his mugshot gets in the book, and somebody picks him out as the probable culprit in this horrible crime. And of course he's totally innocent, and DNA absolutely proves it at the end. But he goes to trial having confidence in the system, and suddenly he gets convicted. And he's up there at his time of allocution, at time of sentencing, and the Sheik describes the bored courtroom as, bored is in the sense of the ennui of just not caring, as everybody just sits around and listens to this goofus talk to make up this story about how he's innocent. And the way that he talks, it's heart-wrenching. He says, look, I'm innocent. I didn't even know this woman. And the only thing that he can think of is that I can't even drive in the city. And he keeps on repeating that because it's the only fact of relevance that he can think of can actually prove I wasn't there because I don't drive in the city. Don't you understand? This couldn't be me because I don't drive in the city. And the judge is saying, what does that have to do with anything? And the prosecutor is thumbing his... And after my acquittal, when I read that section, it was about 8 o'clock in the morning. My wife had already gone to work, and I just couldn't put this book down, so every spare moment I had, I would read it. And I started reading that guy's elocution. And I started shaking, and I started crying, and I cried for a half hour. It was the catharsis, because I'm thinking to myself, I know exactly how that poor son of a bitch felt. This is a completely innocent man. The world is pointing its fingers. And they don't give a good goddamn about his explanation. That guy is guilty in their mind, and nobody, but nobody cares, nobody believes him for even one instant. And because the guy doesn't have a lot of money, because he's black, because he lives in a neighborhood where prosecutors just think that, well, if you're not guilty of this one, you're guilty of the other, he got convicted and he spent a long time in prison. I was white, fairly wealthy, not wealthy, but well off in comparison to him. God, not wealthy. I'm sorry I said that. And I had two of the best lawyers in the city of Detroit, D. De Loren and Krieger, Mark Krieger, my good friends. I paid them a lot of money, but it wasn't like even a quarter of what they would normally get. I had attorneys writing me all over the place saying, my God, Carl, you've done stuff like this in every little case that I've ever had, things that you don't even remember. I had the whole legal community coming to my defense, and I was still scared out of my wits. And if there's one thing that drives me in terms of these wrongful convictions is that I just keep on saying, look it, I had everything going for me. I was absolutely stone cold innocent. I had the best lawyers, I had all the support. I was a prosecutor, I was a former federal prosecutor. I know the system inside and out, and this was happening. I at least had some feeling that I could understand what was happening, but this poor son of a bitch, listening to him, I realized how alone you are, and how when the world condemns you in that way, nobody's going to listen. Which made me convinced that as much as I was proud of being a prosecutor for all of those years and putting the bad guys away, putting the bad guys away is nothing compared to taking one innocent person and getting them out of the damn system. And I would highly encourage each and every one of you as you go into your various careers to keep that in mind. Now, you can do this